already falling, the curls, but all right, anyway. We've gone through my organization and my first step of making maps. My next step is usually writing up NPCs, but in this case, I took such a long break between doing the initial writing to now when I'm actually finishing the writing, and then there'll be a bit of a break between now from when I finish the writing to when I actually run it. The process is all over the place. So we're not going to use Divinity's Ward as an example of my normal process. This is a bit of a hot mess process, actually. But I will say that I have done the whole process just out of order. So I'm going to tell you it in order, but I didn't actually do it in this order. Kind of like the maps. I usually do the world and then the small map of the actual place, but I did it backwards this time because I was working on several different projects and they all happened to be in the same world. This kind of happened the same way. Some of the NPCs that were in this world were taken and put into Happy Camper, which means that I had to create all new NPCs for this next campaign, which I've already done. And because my players are going to be traveling a specific route, not really, it's not like on a line or anything, they can go anywhere. But one of the things I will say when I talk to them is, you can go to this place, but it will take, 2 days, and they will have a bit of a time limit. So how I'm doing it for this campaign, which is different than how I did it for Happy Camper, because for Happy Camper, they were in one place. For this campaign, they are going to be able to go to different places. So I need to have characters, specifically characters that will be able to give them the information that I need them to get in all of the places that they travel, as well as just having places just simply for character development. So I have a list of all of the places that they're going to be able to travel to that is from the map. So we have the wilds, we have the large cities that they're going to be able to go to, we have like the smaller towns, and then we have the temples, villages, training forts, waterways, so that is usually like lakes or beaches or edges of the ocean, mountain ranges, and ruins, as well as any forests. And I break those up because I don't necessarily know if they're going to go to all these places. This is going to be a campaign that is relatively structured in terms of they have their end goal. So they know where they need to get to, like at the end, but they need to go to different places to get all of the things they need before they go to the end. So, regular journey type stuff. But they aren't going to necessarily need to go everywhere. So if we go back to the map of Asteris, we can see that there's a Saint Astera city, there's a new Daedar, there's a Tirani. Like, these are indicated with, there's clay, these are indicated with like bigger icons to show that these are fairly large cities. They're not going to be able to explore the entire city just by visiting once, just to get that one thing that they need from that one place in that one city. So that will sort of facilitate exploration. That'll also give them some leeway to, go to one of these places and just develop. They can develop as a team, they can develop, individually, they can have goals or connections or things like that. And we'll establish all of those things before we actually get into gameplay. So I want my players to feel like they have plenty of options to explore. So once I have finished doing my NPCs, and usually when I do my NPCs, I'm doing specifically important NPCs. These are people that if they meet, they're going to be told or given, or it's going to move the plot along, or it's going to move my individual characters like personal arc along. All other NPCs that are just come out of my head as we play. I don't have like a backlog or a list of like, oh, this would be a good like one to like pull in or anything like that. I just don't. I could probably do that, but I haven't done it, so. But that's an option if you want to do something like that, to kind of take the pressure off of being put in a situation where you didn't plan to have them speak to anyone and you're like, don't, and you're done. You're kind of done for the day. You know, it's been a long day. You're kind of tired. Like there's nothing in your brain. Like your brain literally, it's just like, it's like puffs of smoke. It's like poof, nothing. We've all been there. So once I have the NPCs done and the world done, and at this point I've already started writing. So then as I'm writing, I'm looking for visuals. So that's where this visual folder comes in. It's literally just visual representations of how I feel this world looks. So this is of course an AI picture because I am obsessed with AI pictures right now. They're just able to give me so many options of what I'm thinking in my head in like a short amount of time. This is not what the world looks like, by the way. This is not what it looks like at all. This is the feeling of the story of this place. That makes sense to someone other than me. I know it does. It makes that, right? You get it. You get it. Yeah, you get it. So that is what this is. That's the first visual you get. And then the second visual, and this is usually how I do it, I will find a landscape visual of like what I want people to think of when they think of, when I say Divinity's Ward, I want them to feel a certain way. It will usually be of a place, regardless of whether that place is actually in the world or not. And then I will find a symbol, something that you immediately kind of click with the plot, the overall plot of the story. And so the second thing that I found was this, again, this is another AI. You're asking more questions than the picture is giving you answers for. What am I looking at? But at the same time, everything's recognizable. This is, again, another feeling. It's a feeling of questioning, and I want people to have that feeling when they look at this picture and think of Divinity Ward. So that is how I essentially try to establish what I want my world to imbue and how I want people to feel when I kind of introduce them to the world. And then before I'm done, this will be completely full of all types of visuals. It'll include visuals, it'll include maps, it'll include PC pictures, it'll be flush. And I'll actually show you, and I think I probably have shown this in my Happy Camper series, but my Happy Camper season 2 visuals, as you can see, is overflowing. Like I usually will organize it to many different folders based on what I need for it. And I will be pulling from this to put in Divinity's Ward because it's all the same vibe. But first I wanted to get some fresh ideas specifically for Divinity's Ward before I go in here to get like some pictures that can kind of be for any campaign, you know. So there are characters in Happy Camper that can be characters in Divinity's Ward. These characters will be the same character, but they will be at different points of their life depending on what campaign they're in. So there is actually a character, and I'm not going to go into that, but there is actually a character that players will meet who is from Happy Camper, but this is many, many years before the whole Happy Camper thing even happens. And so this person will be pretty much a different person. You know, they haven't grown into whoever they are in the Happy Camper series for Divinity's Ward. So it'll be really fun to play that with my characters because I know where they end up, you know. And for me, I've said this before, but not only do I enjoy playing random NPCs, but I really like creating worlds around like my NPC. Like my NPC has a whole life outside of the players. They're over here literally living. And one of the ways I get to do that is by having them in many different campaigns. That way I don't have to actually write out their whole backstory and their whole life. I can just play them in another game at a different time in their life. And then when I play them in the future, in the past, I have information about them that the new players won't have. So that's one of the ways I'm kind of actually making it easier for myself to flush out the NPCs, the important NPCs that people are going to interact with over and over again. That way I don't have to actually like sit down and do a whole character profile for them. The character profile comes from my players and how they're interacting with me as I'm playing this NPC, and how this NPC kind of goes about the world that everyone is playing in. And then their character just develops naturally. It's really fun. And I just have to remember. I just have to remember like what the characters are doing, which is one of the reasons why I like recording my sessions. That's really just for me, I think. I find that really fun. My players literally probably won't even know that this NPC was in a different campaign and I'm using that backstory. I don't think I'll just like, I don't think I've ever told people that actually. So I think it's mainly for me, but I enjoy it. And that's the whole point of me doing this, is that I am having fun. And if that is fun for me, then that's kind of the point of me playing. So I enjoy it. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. But if one of your favorite things is writing stories, because I love writing stories, and the more people I have in my arsenal that I can write stories about, the more fun it is for me. If you're that type of person, then you might actually like creating the life of your NPC in that manner, of having them in different campaigns and utilizing their backstory and their experiences to interact with new players. So that's just my 2 cents on that. So then once I am done with the visuals and the NPCs and the maps and the writing, then I'm ready to run. Divinity's Ward will not be run in a pilot. I don't need to. I'm pretty familiar with some of the things that I have added to make this a homebrew. Like I've already kind of piloted a lot of it in Happy Camper. And so what that looks like, and I'm gonna see if this is too spoilery. Okay, I'm not gonna show my Word document because it is pretty spoilery, but I will show Happy Camper because that's already been played, to show how I organize afterwards, which I have a whole list of videos on how I planned that game, but essentially I am going forward planning Divinity's Ward very similarly. So first I do a season plan, then I do a season timeline, then I do a session plan, and then if I'm doing phases of play, like I'm introducing different phases of play, which means that I'm adding something in between, like, all right, we all sit down and we go on an adventure. Sometimes I add things to the beginning or the end. Like for Happy Camper, and I also added a recap. But for Divinity's Ward, I'm just doing a recap and then we're going straight into adventure. So I don't need to do really a phase of play for that, but usually I would, if there's extra stuff I'm adding. And then I already have a season plan. The season plan is in that document that I kind of showed a snippet of. The session plans will also be in that one document. Just because for Divinity's Ward, I just didn't see the need to pop them out into different documents. So those will all be in one document. I've already completed the season plan. I just need to complete the session plan. But the session plan is literally just like what's happening in each session, like what they need to learn, who they need to meet, what the scenes are for when I need to move the story along. If there's any NPCs that have very important dialogue that they need to tell, this is how I'm getting them the information they need. Everything after that, we can just wing it, because that's the fun part. But I need to make sure that I know that I was supposed to give them that information at the beginning. And I break that down into scenes, almost as if you were doing a screenplay. And that is it for me planning Divinity's Ward. I will be continuing to write and organize and get everything together so that I can actually get it ready to play in February, and I will continue to make videos on that process. So for anyone who's interested in looking at this game and then maybe possibly playing something similar to it, I am also going to just read out to you kind of what I gave my players to understand what their role is in this world. You're curious players looking for the truth in a world built on lies. Your dreams and aspirations for a new life are interrupted by forces you can't control. I then let them know what the White Rabbit is. So if you are familiar with Alice in Wonderland, the White Rabbit is essentially, I think it's an allegory. We're not going to get into that because I am not a literature person. I mean, I enjoy literature, but I'm not a literature person. That's not my forte. That's not my lane. However, the White Rabbit in this case is whatever your player is chasing. So the White Rabbit in this case is a scheme or question which pulls your characters into the fray and continues to be an enticing chase. What are you chasing is the question I'm essentially asking my players to answer. So your characters will have selfish motivations for following the White Rabbit. So I think that is all for today. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time. Have a good one.